What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? It's your boy AT2, and we are bringing you another episode of my favorite podcast. I thought it was everybody's favorite podcast, but I guess it's just mine. Talk to Me. And today I have back on the show for the second time, Genesis. Welcome to the show, DJ Genesis.
Hey, what's up? What's up? How are you doing?
Good, good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm fantastic.
Well, thank you for doing this impromptu show with me. I know you had been talking about the whole FBA thing for the longest time, whether it's a lineage or it's an organization or a cult or a gang, because it definitely feels like a cult or a gang. But, someone who claims to be a foundational Black American is Love Jones. And Love Jones is now getting backlash because they found out that she loves all colors of the rainbow. And they're like, wait a minute, you supposed to be with us. And so, the messaging is getting kind of confusing with the FBA, because if it's a lineage, then, you can't take it away from us, right?
Right. Exactly. And I think that they get the whole definition of lineage, because it's like, if it's a lineage, then we all should be all related, right? Because a lineage means that we're all a part of the same lineage. But you have different people from different lineage. You have some people that are mixed with Native American. You have some people mixed with Irish in different countries. So which lineage are we speaking of? And I think it's just just a randomized, okay, it's a lineage, but it's like, okay, well, which lineage?
Right. So let me go ahead and play Love Jones' video so then we can talk about it. Here we go.
All right. So everybody's making videos about me saying that I'm a grifter. I'm a divester. I'm a bed wench. I'm running behind massa. I'm fake. And I was a swirler. And now I'm trying to be FBA. And I think y'all got me fucked up. Y'all really got me all the way fucked up. First of all, I don't claim shit. Now, if I'm going against somebody that literally is disrespecting my fucking lineage, what the fuck does that have to do with who I'm giving coochie to? It has absolutely nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Being FBA, first of all, like I said, I don't get up here and say, I'm FBA. But technically, and I've said this multiple times, I don't have an immigrant background. So being a foundational Black American woman, if I do claim that and I say I'm FBA, that has fuck all to do with who I'm fucking. Now, I can see if I'm sitting up here and saying I'm all for the Black nuclear family and Black people need to be with Black people. That's one fucking thing. But the fact that I don't have an immigrant background, can you deny that? Can you take that away because I may have dated a white man before? Can you take it away because I dated a man from Nigeria? Can you take it away?
So is the FBA, is it like a pass then? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. If it's a lineage, this should be a lineage, right? This is where it gets in the cult-like behavior, because what happens is that this is where it goes past just a lineage. So if we're a lineage, then what difference does it make? Exactly who she's doing it to, who she's giving the punan to. Who cares? But if it's a lineage, it should remain a lineage. But here's the thing: I think that Tariq Nasheed is losing control of his own movement, because even though he tried to say it's not a movement, it's just a lineage. I think that's the mistake, is that he only wants to make it into a lineage, and so therefore then now you leave an opening for the movement, right? So you have the FBA lineage, and then you have the FBA movement that is happening, right? So
right, but
so that's the separation is, that there's a movement happening based on FBA that Tariq Nasheed has no control over.
And so I remember asking about whether or not this was an organization or some kind of group. And then it was like, okay, it's a lineage. And it's all like, okay, well, if it's just a lineage, it just all are who you are. Like, how are we going to then move to then fighting for the reparations and fighting for things to help Black American? It was confusing. Like, okay, then what's the next step? Okay, it's a lineage. Okay, that's fine. But what more is there? Like, what are we creating? What are we trying to do? Are we just saying that we're FBA because of our lineage, or is there some plan to action? And it doesn't seem like there's a plan for any action. You just say, I'm FBA. That's it, right?
Well, that's the thing, is that they have this whole thing about when it comes down to reparations, and they're trying to delineate, right? These are the code words that they use: delineate. So this is a delineation movement as well. We're trying to separate ourselves from the Caribbeans and the Africans and all the other people that could so-called take away our reparations, because they are tethering on to our accomplishments. This is the whole thing where you get the tether aspect of it, right? So it's like, so if you're a lineage, all this other conversation is null and void. If I say I'm of the lineage of the Murrays or the Locketts or whatever, the last name is, that's the lineage, right? What difference does it make if Monica Lockett is dating so-and-so West and we have a child and that now it's West? That's, so what difference does it make? And a lot of this whole so-called lineage, was already kind of broken up, when it comes to race and stuff like that earlier on. So it's like, so what are we talking about when it comes down to lineage? And here's the thing. This is why when they say it's just a lineage, it's BS, because you don't have a trademark and a patent and a copyright for a lineage. You don't have a trademark office thing of, oh, okay, we'll be selling T-shirts, we'll be selling memberships to association fees, and there's a whole trademark and patent for.
And where is that money going to? Like, is it going back into the community or in somebody's bank account?
Exactly. So you're saying it's not a movement, you're saying it's not an organization, you're saying it's just a lineage, but then you have organizational structures that would be like what it would be if it were an organization. So which one is it? And so what's happening is that it's almost like I said, it's going into cult-like behavior for me, because when you talk about language, everybody's starting to say the same thing, starting to have the same words, starting to and then use those words against other FBAs, to where if you don't agree with them, now all of a sudden you become a tether, you become a this, you become a that. It's like, well, what part? Well, so when does tether go into something else because you disagree with them? This is where the cult behavior begins.
Right. I've even had somebody say, "Oh, I thought you were FBA. I didn't know you were." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" But let's go back to the video.
Because I dated a nigga from Senegal? Can you take it away because I dated a fucking Guyanese man? Can you take away my lineage? Can you take away my birthright? Can you take away my American citizenship because I dated other people of a different background in the past? I don't know who the fuck this Pro Logic channel. I don't know what's going on. I keep getting clipped. People keep posting me. I get it. It comes with the territory. And y'all need to start following me. Because it gets to a fucking point. I keep seeing everybody reposting me, and I'm not mad, but y'all literally just repost my shit bar for bar. Y'all don't even change it. I need to figure out how to get a watermark up here. And then y'all doing it to talk shit. Bitch, follow me. Shout me out. Tell people to come and fucking follow me, because I should have over 100K by now with all of the fucking smoke and everything that people want to keep making videos and shit. I'm not even mad. I understand it comes with the territory. But y'all are making it seem like because I've dated Caucasian men, because I've dated a Latino, because I've dated men from different backgrounds, that means that I'm no longer a Black American woman without an immigrant background. Like, I think that y'all keep thinking that FBA is like a group when it's literally a lineage, when I literally do not say I'm FBA. I don't like labels. I could also be running around here saying I'm not native, but like indigenous, because my grandfather is a fucking Indian man, like not Hindu Indian, but like Black American Indian. I could be calling myself a whole bunch of shit, bitch. I'm everything. I have an Irish fucking ancestor too. So could I go around, running around? Y'all want me to go run around saying I'm Irish too? Like, what the fuck are we really doing?
As far as a Black American, is there any pure-blooded, Black person in America?
Hell no.
Yeah, that's near. If there is, then that means that they came from the motherland. If there's anybody pure-blooded Black, but other than that, there is nobody pure-blooded just Black. And so that's where it gets into tricky territory, because let me throw this at you, Genesis. Technically, Drake would be FBA. But remember when Tariq Nasheed was asked about Drake, he was all like, "Oh, well, it's the land. The land makes you a FBA." And
right,
so
the entire North America is the land. Here's the thing, is that at one point, there was no borders, there was no passports, there was no separation between South America, Canada, and North America. People were going up and down, all up and throughout. So at what point is the lineage, like, it's a thing, it's separation. FBA is sounding too much like FBI to me. I just think that this whole thing is like, is separate, is separatory. And I think that what's happening is like, it's trying to separate people out and divide and conquer. And here's the thing. A lot of us, we don't even realize that when you go into, we say that the lineage started it, we have the records of our lineage. Well, if you actually look into some of those records, South Carolina, a lot of those slaves were being brought from the Caribbean, but we want to call Caribbean people tethers. So you don't even know what their actual lineage really is, because if you actually trace your lineage back and you are from South Carolina, a lot of those South Carolinian slaves came from Barbados and Jamaica. So, and people were transporting slaves back and forth through. If the slaves were unruly, they would send them back there to get like taken care of and handled on those more harsher plantations. Those particular plantations in the Caribbean were named as like the places that they would train the slaves before they sent them to North America. And there are records. There's actual records. So if you're going to say, well, that we're going to go back to when we're recorded history, well, that recorded history does not start in America. It starts a lot of times in some families in the Caribbean. So at what point do we say, oh, okay, where do we break it? We want to start in 1861, 2, 3, whatever it is. Well, guess what? If you go a little further back, you're going to find some of your lineage started in the Caribbean. So now you want to say, oh, okay, well, that you guys are grifting. I'm not grifting, tethering from us or whatever. That's crazy.
Right. And it's true that the boats landed in the Caribbean first. So, with that history of the Carolinas, we know that a lot of those slaves did come from the Caribbean first and then came to America. But also, too, I just thought about this. Some FBAs believe that we were already here, and they don't believe in the whole the Atlantic slave trade, and don't believe we came from Africa. They don't believe we have any blood in Africa. Like, they think that we were already here and that there's no connection between us and Africa. How do you feel about that argument?
Okay, so we were already here. Did we sprout up out the ground like Cabbage Patch Kids, or did a boat come from Africa like the Malian Empire? Like the Malian Empire did come over to America and was actually here prior to the slave trade. We didn't just sprout up out the ground. We came from Africa. And so, all right, we want to talk about a lineage. Do we want to just cut out that part of our lineage? If you're going to say that you were here before, well, honey, they came from Africa. There was no Pangea. Pangea was thousands of years before any human beings existed on planet Earth. So we can't blame Pangea. We have to know that there were seafaring groups in Africa that were very there was like, what is it, the Sankore University, the Malian Empire, that was able to had seafaring boats that was coming over to America and were building structures and buildings and things like that. So we cannot just over here and like just start our lineage off in 1860 whatever, and okay, well then that's a slave lineage. So you want to only start our lineage off from the slave part of it. You don't want, but you want to say, oh, okay, no, we were here before. Well, honey, if you want to go, we were here before, well, that comes from Africa. It does not come from anywhere else, unless you're the people that came over from the Bering Strait, and you're those Indians that came from the Bering Strait over from Alaska, from Mongolia. So which one?
It's always funny to me because it's all like, when I was in elementary school, I've always learned that life started in Africa. And so the denial that we have any connection to the homeland, or we're not, African, is always weird to me. Yeah, maybe not culturally, but our bloodline, we share the same blood as the people in Africa, and let's be honest, us being the first humans, we went everywhere. Like, technically, we were all over the globe. If you look at some of the first humans and the first people of, early civilization, they were all dark-skinned people. Also, if we go back to, is it mitochondria, Eve? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, and I think, yeah, it was
black people can have a white baby, but white people cannot have a black baby.
And let me tell you something even deeper. Like, even when you break down the people in Asia, they came from sand people in South America, in South Africa. Okay, those sand people migrated up to Asia. Okay, you have people also in Australia that came from South Africa. And here's the thing:
Aboriginals.
if you actually look up into what it takes to be a samurai, you could not be a samurai unless you had African blood. Look at that. So when you break down like the Asian culture and stuff like that, you see pyramids and all those hills in China and things like that. Those are ancient pyramids, that they will not even let anybody touch or even like excavate. They have that much respect.
Yeah, and Japan has different ethnic groups. You speak of the samurais, Japan has different ethnic groups. And the original ethnic group is basically, it's not completely wiped out, but now it's heavily mixed, just like anywhere, during time. But now it's heavily mixed. But, their people had, thick hair, woolly hair, darker skin, bigger noses. Like their people look more indigenous than anything, originally. So it is weird how, people try to disconnect from Africa like it's a bad, because almost like, I guess the conversation that we're not having is that it's a stain to be Caribbean or African. That's kind of what I'm getting from the FBAs. What about you?
Yeah, and here is also like that people are trying to they're coming from a hurt place. Well, they called us El Catan, or they called us Kata, and this, that, the other, like as AKA cotton picker or whatever in Africa. And so they kind of use these excuses like, well, they don't even they had their own ethnogenesis and they had their own thing, and we're just trying to claim ours. Okay, so yes, if you're from Jamaica, you're considered Jamaican. So I guess they wanted to have something but there was definitely a understanding of where people came from. However, but with Pan-Africanism, because what they try to do is say, well, Pan-Africanism is dead. We need to delineate from the Pan-African movement. But the Pan-African movement
used to be a Pan-African.
Say it again.
Tariq Nasheed used to be a Pan-African.
He used to be a Pan-African, and he traveled all across Africa. And here's the thing: is that the rhetoric that he is spitting is making people that are the younger crowd like, well, I don't want to go to Africa. They ain't got nothing to do with us, and this, that, the other. But he didn't been to Africa, right? He been over there, right? But the younger people that's listening to him, they're gonna say, no, America, 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 and don't want to go anywhere past and see anything beyond. And that is a dangerous thing to be spewing to the young culture. They need
he has a white mother-in-law too. He has a white mother-in-law.
Right. I think that they're Jewish or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And let's not, I'm not going to get into that, but I'm just saying is that the bottom line is that, a lot of times we want to go against our Caribbean brothers and sisters and our African brothers and sisters and say that they're tethering, but we don't want to go against the Asians that are like doing breakdancing and hip hopping and whatever, and this, that, the other. But they have dominated hip hop, dominated the graffiti world, dominated the dancing world. You think about the people dance, right? Remember they had that show out? The biggest people on there, it was mostly Asian hip hop dance crews with people that even won when they had the Olympics. I think it was either one Asian guy, and I think second place was a Black American, African American guy, or FB, whatever you want to call it.
Look that up while I play the rest of the video.
Right.
Because I thought it was not the Australian girl. I know that's the one that they're making fun, but yeah, look that up.
What are we doing? Y'all trying to discredit me? Y'all trying to say that I have so now I got an immigrant background because I may have fucked off with a white man. Does that make sense? And I'm trying to say it in layman's terms so y'all can understand how stupid y'all sound. I keep getting bombarded with comments and messages calling me a snake, calling me a liar, calling me a grifter. How the fuck am I a grifter? What am I grifting? What am I grifting? I don't have an immigrant background. It doesn't matter if I was having sex with a woman. It doesn't matter if I was married to a trans. It does not matter. That does not change my background. It does not change my lineage. It does not change my nationality. It does not change my citizenship status. It doesn't change that on my fucking passport it says United States of America. It doesn't change that on my birth certificate it says United States of America. It doesn't change my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-great-grandmother, and so on and so forth. It doesn't change that on their birth certificates it says Negro, mulatto, and then we got a colored up in there. It doesn't change that. So I don't know what y'all trying to do. I don't know what the agenda is. I really, quite frankly, don't give a fuck. This my coochie. I could throw it, slang it, sell it. I could do whatever it is that I want to do with it. Now, I know a lot of y'all are attracted to me and y'all are fucking mad because y'all probably feel like y'all could never have a fucking chance with. Bitch, I would take my earrings off for a lot of you motherfuckers. Stranger fucking danger. But to try to go around saying I'm a fraud and I'm a grifter, what am I grifting? Y'all don't do this to men, though. Y'all let men be sleeping with the biracials, the Latinas, the clear woman. Y'all don't be doing that. But what the fuck? I'm not sitting up here. I'm not a hotep. I don't know what the fuck y'all think this is, but I never lied. If you actually look at my actual content, I never lied. I don't lie. I keep it real. If you got an issue, oh well, take it up with your father if you know what he has. Spread love is the Brooklyn way, bitch.
So yeah, that's Love Jones. Okay. So what did you find out, Genesis?
Yes. So the winner of the men's final was a guy named Philip Kim from Canada. So that's an Asian guy, and then in the women's final is a lady from Japan.
Okay, so it was a woman from Japan that won on the woman's side. Okay, but an Asian guy in Canada. So yeah, they did. And that's probably not that I think that that's the reason why they're not bringing it back next year, but it was just kind of a mess. It didn't fit in the Olympics. But going back to the point, knowing that you have all these other people and we're worried about preserving the culture and stuff like that, but then, we're attacking people who are actually Black. And let's be honest, we all kind of share cultures, as far as music, food, like we all share from each other, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right. So here's the thing is that this whole delineation movement, I think it's a divide and conquer type of thing. I don't think it's cool that we are sitting up here in a time like this where we have the government in a situation of shutdown where people are going to probably need each other the most to sit up there and try to separate each other and try to create
no food stamps.
And all based on some imaginary reparations. That's not going to happen. If they're cutting out food stamps, you think they're going to give you reparations? Are you serious?
But you know what the funny part is? Because remember that whole thing that happened in California like a year ago, right? Because you were the one who put me onto it, and I live in California. And, Tariq Nasheed was like propping up that Republican guy who tried to put the bill on the floor. Like, do they still talk to that guy? Like, is he trying to?
Honey, I don't know, but I know that they tried to blame it on the Caribbeans and saying that they were the reasons that they were tethering, and that the reason why the bill didn't get passed is because mostly Caribbean people that were running in the government at that time. That brings
me to my next point. Remember, I had asked you, like, where are the FBA people to run in office? Like, you can't get any power if you don't have a representative or people in there. Like, you have to be pushing for the candidate, just like you have these Green Party people who are trying to push for a candidate, but there's no Green Party people in office. So how do you get that pushed through? Same with the FBA.
Right. Here's the thing. If you only want to make FBA into a lineage and you don't want to make it into an actual movement, because I don't think Tariq Nasheed wants the smoke from the government by making it into a movement. That's why he keeps saying it's a lineage and trying to hide under that. Right. So you don't have any political power, just by saying it's a lineage. That just means that, but if you took it and made it into a movement, you get a 501c3 3A and start to do things and lobby in Congress for people's rights. But if you're just saying it's a lineage, you have no rights. You're just saying that this is a group of people, and this is the day. You can't. That's almost like, okay, African American or whatever you want to call yourself. We could just call ourselves bologna sandwiches. And guess what? If you don't create like a movement behind bologna sandwich, it doesn't matter if everybody calls themselves bologna sandwich.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, now we're all bologna sandwiches. Okay, well then, yeah. And if you're not a bologna sandwich, you're a turkey sandwich. So
but to go to the point that Love Jones is making, it seems like people are just attacking her because they found out that she dated other men of other races, and it's like it doesn't take away her lineage at all.
Half the people attacking her probably dated outside their race at some point. So It's just
currently dating,
right, trolling and all this other stuff, you know. Because and here's the thing: if we are talking about a lineage, most of the people that are descendants of slave have the lineage of other races in their bloodstream. So, are we only going to talk about the African lineage? Well, hold on, because you're going to say foundational Black American. Now, by the way, America is a corporation. Make no mistake. So you're tying yourself to a corporation. You're tying yourself to a color, and you're tying yourself to the foundation of the color of a corporation. And this color of people came into the corporation of America. Come on now, what are we doing here? When all this, like, everything is pointing back to the fact that this government is trying to put everything back into slavery. And you want to start from slavery, then you go back to slavery. You don't go back to Africa. You don't go back to being somebody special on that land that was brought over here. So no one will really have any. Well, guess what? You're FBA. You don't have any connection to Africa. So therefore, all that crying, like, how can you cry about slavery if that's where your lineage only started is in slavery? How could you say, well, you need reparations for slavery then? Because you're not going to go back to, oh, I was taken from here. Oh, no, we were already here. Oh, okay. Well, then, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, and I guess I didn't kind of speak my thoughts on it. But what I was saying, what I wanted to say was that, you know, I am not denying the fact that we had people here. But I do recognize that those people, because life started in Africa, they were African. I am not denying that. So again, you can use whatever spin words that you want to use, but life started in Africa. That's a fact. That's undeniable. Like, if you look up history, it all tells you life started in Africa. There's no dispute about that, you know? So that was my thoughts on it. And I would love to hear, you know, in the comment section from some of the FBA people. They want to disagree, argue with us about it, but I mean, at this point, what is the next step? You can argue and fight over, you know, semantics of what we're saying, but what is the next step? What are we going to do to move or progress forward? That's what I'm not hearing.
I also want to say is that, you know, all this stuff started with the Pan-African movement. You know, there would be no FBA movement without the Pan-African movement. And so to then try to usurp the Pan-African movement and say that it's dead or it didn't do anything or whatever, and try to diss the which is the birthing of the FBA movement, is disrespectful. You know, it's disrespectful to all those people that came before this movement. Claude Anderson, who they also tout as a person that is the starter of that, he was around during that whole genesis of the Pan-African movement. All the people that they talk about, when it really comes down to it, they were around during the Pan-African movement, and they did not speak negatively about the Pan-African movement. So why is it happening now, when Africa is on the brink of reconstructing and this, that, the other? I just think it's something to it, you know. More people are moving over to Africa more and more each day, you know. And as time goes on, you know, you're seeing more people divesting from this country and going over. I think it's a blockage that's meant to have, that people are trying to have to create this delineation. It's trying to create this divide. And I don't think it's a good thing to have this divide when the country is at when the stakes are so high right now. We need to be more united and more together.
Right. And, you know, and I will say this to push back. Like, I do think that, you know, as far as Black Americans, like, you know, we do want our own culture, our own place, right? You know, in this world. And we want to be recognized for our contributions as well, too. However, I think right now, like you were saying, it's not the time for all of us to be separate. If anything, we need to come together, because we're going to have some big battles these next 3 years. So buckle your seatbelts and get ready, because all this petty shit that we argue about online, we might not have an online where we're allowed to spew just anything no more. Everything might be regulated and controlled. We might be living in the 1984 Big Brother time. So get ready for that. But Genesis, go ahead and tell the people where they can find you at and where they can, you know, follow you.
Yes, and you can check me out on youtube.com/@DJGenesisDetroit, which is my name at the bottom. You can see right here. please check me out. Yes, I'm always kind of on the FBA's heads because I think it's a very divisive movement. I think that we need to be coming together in this time and not separated from each other. I'm not saying that we need to be going out there. And one thing I do want to say is that when it comes down to, when they cut these SNAP benefits off, we should not be going out here and stealing from stores and doing all this other crazy stuff. We need to be really thinking more strategically on if we're being set into a trap, and if that's the case, we're going to need more unity than separation, because we can't fight all these people. We can't fight everybody. You can't fight the Caribbeans and the Africans and the Mexicans and everybody. We want to hate everybody. Everybody wants everybody to hate us. We can't fight everybody. That's what even Dr. Claude Anderson said. So, where are we going with this? If Dr. Claude Anderson is the person that you're basing your movement on, he even said we can't fight all these people. Right.
So Abby Phillip from CNN has just came out with a book. I don't know if it comes out. I think it already came out, but it's about Jesse Jackson and his run for president and the Rainbow Coalition. So I remember learning about it, but I didn't really understand it. But for a black man to try to pull everybody in and be like, hey, we need to, I mean, granted, he didn't win the presidency, but to try to bring everybody in and be like, hey, we need to come together and we need to have economic stability, between all of us. We need to make sure that everybody can eat, everybody's housed, everybody is. So that kind of thing, we really need that today. So I'm interested in reading that book. So definitely I'm going to check it out. I don't know, Genesis, if you read, but I would definitely.
I want to check it out. And I want to say one last thing. Mm-hmm. In the 60s, there was 10 billionaires. By 1980, in the 1980s, there was 15. By the time the 2000 came along, that number is now at now we're in 2024. There are close to almost 1,000 billionaires, right? So this now has created a new class of people because with the tech surge, it created over 1,000 billionaires, right? So now you have a new surge of thing that all the billionaires are now trying to become deca-billionaires. So this is a new class of people, and then you have Elon Musk. He's trying to become a trillionaire, right? So now you have this whole group of people that are now its own class of people that did not exist before, that own the majority of the money that is really circulating. So is this the time when they are owning the majority of our money in our society, the taxpayer, everything that we create and we generate? They are the holders of all that, to be separated within each other in our small little group of people, or even large group of people. We need to be having numbers. We don't need to be separating ourselves. We need to be coming together, because when it all comes down, it's really going to be a thing about rich versus the poor. It's not going to be about color. Mm-hmm. I think they had a quote from Lyndon B. Johnson that says something that even about white people is that if you, what was that quote? It said something about,
if you convince the poorest white man that he's better than the black man or something like that.
Yes. You understand what I'm saying? And we are able to convince them, then they'll steal from them. They'll do the work for them.
And by the way, because a lot of people say, oh, Lyndon B. Johnson was saying that because he wanted to get the white. No. He was saying that in retrospect of, I think it was Richard Nixon who started the Southern Strategy. Yeah, Richard Nixon. That was a response to him, because a lot of people think Lyndon B. Johnson had said that so he can, but no, he's the one who signed the Civil Rights Act. So.
Right, but the actual thing is now we're seeing it to be true. What he said is that even though he probably didn't mean it to be what it was back then, what he said, we're seeing it in action now when you have this group of billionaires that are running the whole thing, and you have people and voting people into power that are really a part of this class of people that really don't have everyone's best interest at heart. That is the issue. And so that's where we need to all come together. And I'm not for all the separation.
Oh, I agree on that. Well, Genesis, again, thank you so much for being a part of this show. Like, this was a great conversation, and I can't wait to have more conversations with you. And thank you for coming back for the second time. I always find this conversation interesting about the whole FBA thing, because, again, it's a lineage, it's a cult, it's a gang. You get jumped in, jumped out. I get so confused by it. So, again, thank you for being a part of this.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And bye, you guys. We're out of here. Deuces, everybody.